It was a quiet Tuesday. I remember it clearly, not because of a dramatic emergency, but because of something subtler. Mr. Ellis, 72, a retired carpenter with strong hands and a soft voice, came in for a routine checkup. He looked tired, not sick, just worn down, like something inside him had been slowly dimming. When I asked about his diet, he smiled and said, "Doctor, I eat clean. Oats every morning, just like the magazines say." But when we looked closer, something didn't add up. His blood pressure was climbing, his stomach was bloated, his energy was gone by noon. And his blood work? It told a quiet story of inflammation, sugar spikes, and liver strain. It wasn't the oats themselves. It was what he was eating with them. Oats are gentle, honest. But for older male bodies, already managing slower metabolism, hormone shifts, and vascular tension, the wrong pairing can quietly turn a healthy habit into a source of daily harm. That day, I started asking all my male patients over 60 the same question: what do you eat with your oats? Because sometimes the things we believe are helping us, the berries, the yogurt, the nut butter, are quietly pushing our systems off balance. And this isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Let me take you through the stories of the men I've treated, the subtle mistakes they've made, and the simple swaps that brought their energy, clarity, and dignity back. Story number 1. When sweet turns sour, the hidden sugar trap in fruit-loaded oats. There's a kind of pride older men carry when they believe they're doing something right for their health. I've seen it so many times. A patient sits across from me, a little stooped from the years, but with that quiet confidence that comes from living a disciplined life. One morning, a man named Walter, 67, came in for a follow-up. Former Navy meticulous, the kind of man who folds his shirts even when no one's looking. "Doc," he said with a grin, "you'll be happy. I've been eating clean. Oatmeal every morning with banana, raisins, and a little drizzle of honey. No more bacon and eggs." He was proud, and I understood why. But something didn't sit right. His blood work told a different story. Blood sugar climbing, triglycerides high, morning energy crashing before noon. Walter didn't understand. He had replaced the bad stuff. But no one had told him that too much of a good thing, especially after 60, can quietly work against the body it's meant to support. I asked him gently, "Do you know how many grams of sugar are in those raisins alone? Or how fast that banana breaks down into glucose in your bloodstream?" His eyes narrowed. "No idea." That's the thing. Sweetness doesn't always come in the form of candy bars or sodas. In many of the men I treat, it hides inside health rituals. Oat bowls topped like parfaits, filled with honey, dates, or multiple fruits. When you combine those sugars with oats, something happens in the body, especially in an older male body already dealing with slower insulin response and weakened hormone regulation. Your blood sugar rises fast, and when that happens repeatedly, day after day, year after year, the consequences become clear. More belly fat, lower testosterone, morning fatigue, and that quiet inflammation that chips away at circulation and mental clarity. I've seen it in so many of my patients, men who think they're being good to themselves, but feel worse with each passing season. Walter used to nap by 10:30 every morning, wondering why his energy felt so drained. He thought it was aging. It wasn't. It was the sugar spike followed by the sugar crash, masked by the idea that fruits are always safe. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying you need to give up every slice of banana or dried berry, but for men over 60, your margins are tighter. Your body no longer metabolizes sugar like it did at 35. And those small choices, the extra handful of raisins, the drizzle of maple syrup, the mango chunks, can turn a healthy bowl of oats into something that wears your system down, silently. Walter made one small change. He swapped the banana for a few blueberries, skipped the raisins, let the oats be the star of the dish. Within 3 weeks, his energy came back. He stopped crashing mid-morning. His sugar levels improved, and for the first time in years, he told me he didn't feel heavy after breakfast. He felt sharp. So here's what I'd ask of you. Next time you prepare your morning oats, take a second look at what you're adding. Is it truly helping your body or just sweetening your expectations? If you've seen this in your own life, if your healthy habits haven't felt so healthy lately, I'd be honored to hear your experience. Leave a comment if this resonates. And if this story helped you reframe your morning, a quiet like goes a long way in helping other men find it too. Story number 2, the yogurt mistake. Dairy that disrupts testosterone and digestion. He came into the clinic with a half smile and a grocery bag. Thought you'd appreciate this, he said, placing it on my desk. Inside was a small tub of low-fat strawberry yogurt, the kind with a shiny label and promises of bone strength and probiotics. That's my breakfast, Doc, he added. Oats, a scoop of this, some chia seeds. Feels clean. His name was Mr. Brandt, 68, retired history teacher. Slim frame, sharp eyes, but lately, sluggish bowels, frequent bloating, low mood, and a surprising drop in testosterone. We'd run labs after he'd come in, complaining of foggy thinking and a lack of spark, as he put it. Now, when I tell you that yogurt isn't the enemy, I mean it. But the kind of yogurt most men over 60 buy, it's often loaded with more sugar than protein, artificial thickeners, chemical sweeteners, and worse, dairy that's been stripped of its fat, the very thing that helps modulate hormonal health. Mr. Brandt had unknowingly fallen into a quiet trap. He'd replaced greasy diner breakfast with oats and yogurt, thinking he'd made the smart swap. But every spoonful of that flavored low-fat mix sent a wave of sugar through his system, and worse, introduced synthetic estrogen-like compounds from processed dairy that began to chip away at his already declining testosterone levels. I showed him his blood work. Total testosterone had dropped nearly 20% in the past year. Estradiol was rising. His gut markers, especially those linked to inflammation, were flaring. You didn't do anything wrong, I told him. You followed the labels. You followed the health blogs. But they weren't written for men your age. At this stage of life, every choice matters more. The gut lining is thinner, the hormones more fragile, and what used to be a harmless snack in your 40s can begin to alter your balance silently in your 60s and 70s. Yogurt, when chosen wisely, can still be part of the picture, but it needs to be full fat. Unsweetened, alive with natural cultures, not artificial promises, and it needs to complement, not dominate, your morning. Mr. Brandt made the change. He switched to plain Greek yogurt, just a spoon or two, sometimes none at all. Within a month, the bloating faded, his energy returned. His face, he said, felt clearer. And while it wasn't a miracle, it was a turning point. We think health is about extremes, but after 60, it's more often about noticing the quiet details, the kind of yogurt you buy, the way your body feels after breakfast, the difference between feeling full and feeling inflamed. So I'll ask you gently, what's in your yogurt? And more importantly, how does your body feel after you've had it? If this story made you think twice about what's in your fridge, let me know in the comments. These small moments of honesty can become the ripple that changes someone else's routine too. And if this helped, a quiet like lets others know they're not alone in their confusion. Story number 3, the peanut butter pitfall. Fat's that clog, not fuel. Some men wear their discipline like a badge. Mr. Levin was one of them. 68, retired postman, never missed his morning walk, never skipped a scheduled visit. I eat clean now, he told me. Oats with peanut butter every morning. Protein, right? Keeps me full. He said it like he'd figured it out, like he'd cracked the code that many men search for after 60. How to feel strong, stay full, and avoid the sugary traps. But as he spoke, I noticed the fatigue in his eyes, a kind of weight that sleep didn't seem to touch. And when we reviewed his labs, the story beneath the surface was clearer than ever. Elevated LDL, rising triglycerides, liver enzymes creeping up, mild but stubborn weight gain, especially around the belly. How much peanut butter are we talking? I asked. 2 big spoonful, he shrugged. Natural, but the kind that spreads easy. No chunks. That easy spread told me more than he realized. You see, most commercial peanut butters, even those that boast natural on the label, are blended with hydrogenated oils, added sugars and fillers that mimic the texture of health while quietly wrecking your internal engine. Peanut butter, in theory, should be rich in healthy fats and plant protein. But for older male bodies, what matters isn't just the food itself. It's the form, the additives, and how it interacts with a system already navigating lower testosterone, slower metabolism, and increasing inflammation. Mr. Levin thought he was fueling himself, but day after day, those spoonfuls added up, not just in calories, but in burden. His liver was processing industrial oils. His arteries were absorbing more saturated fats than his body could handle. His energy? Stuck in the sludge of what should have been fuel, but turned into fatigue. I'll never forget the moment it clicked for him. He looked down at his hands calloused from years on the mail route and said, "I thought I was being smart. Turns out I was just being habitual." We swapped the peanut butter for almond butter, just 1 teaspoon. No added oils, no sugar. Some mornings he skipped it entirely, opting for crushed walnuts or flaxseed. Within a few weeks, the weight began to shift. His afternoon fatigue lifted. He said it felt like someone had cleared a fog from the edges of his mind. And that's the part many men don't realize. Food doesn't just affect your weight or your labs. It affects how you show up, your sharpness, your patience, your sense of control. When fats fuel you, you feel steady. When they clog you, everything slows. Your thoughts, your steps, your joy. So ask yourself, what kind of fat are you feeding your body each morning? Does it serve you or soothe you? There's a difference. One fuels your future, the other keeps you stuck in a loop. If this made you think differently about that familiar jar in your pantry, I'd love to hear your story. Have you made this change? Felt the shift? And if it helped at all, a quiet like or comment can guide another man toward the clarity he's been missing. Story number 4. Raw nuts and old guts. Why some almonds backfire. After 60, there's a certain look men give when they're trying to get everything right and still feel off. I saw it on Mr. Ramirez, 70, just last spring. He came in with a folder of food logs, proud and precise. "Doc," he said, "I've cut the junk, no red meat in the mornings, just oats, a few almonds, some flax. Still feel bloated though, still stiff. What am I missing?" I looked at his hands, bigger than mine, scarred from years of working construction. These were the hands of a man who'd learned to endure discomfort, to push through. But his eyes told me he was tired of guessing. That's when I asked, "Do you soak your almonds?" He laughed. "What for?" "I'm not baking." And there it was, one of those quiet misunderstandings that sneak into our routines. Because while almonds are praised as heart-healthy, protein-rich powerhouses, the truth is, raw and unsoaked nuts can become quiet saboteurs, especially for aging digestion. In your 30s or 40s, you can eat raw almonds by the handful and hardly notice. But after 60, the stomach produces less acid. The enzymes that used to effortlessly break down fiber, fat, and phytic acid, they slow. Your gut lining becomes more sensitive, less forgiving. So that handful of raw nuts, dense, dry, and unyielding, can trigger bloating, gas, even a sense of heaviness that lasts all day. Worse yet, the phytic acid in unsoaked nuts binds to minerals like magnesium, iron, and zinc, the very nutrients older men struggle to retain. Instead of absorbing the fuel, your body ends up flushing it out. Mr. Ramirez nodded slowly as I explained. "Funny," he said, "I always feel better when I skip breakfast." But it wasn't the oats, it wasn't his age, it was the almonds, raw, hard, and consumed without preparation. We made a change, just a simple one. Soaked almonds overnight or lightly roasted ones in moderation. Some mornings he switched to pumpkin seeds or ground flax. And within 2 weeks, he told me something I hadn't heard from him before. "Doc, my stomach's not talking back anymore." For older men, digestion is the gatekeeper of energy, clarity, and even mood. When your gut is irritated, your body can't absorb joy, let alone nutrients. And the foods we assume are safe because they come from the earth, they still require wisdom in how they're prepared. So if you've been loading your bowl with raw nuts, thinking you're making the strong choice, pause. Listen to your gut. Literally, is it light after breakfast? Or do you feel like you're carrying something that won't let go? Your body's not failing. It's just asking to be treated differently than it was 20 years ago. Have you had this experience? I'd be honored if you shared below. Sometimes naming the discomfort is the first step in finally easing it. And don't forget to subscribe, not out of habit, but because these small, honest moments might be just what you need next week or next month when the road feels uncertain again. Story number 5, milk and mucus. The dairy oats combo that silently affects breathing. He was the kind of man who didn't speak unless it mattered. Mr. Conway, 74, came into my office one humid afternoon, breathing slower than usual. Not labored, but not light either. He said he'd been feeling clogged in the mornings, a little coughing, post-nasal drip, sometimes needing to clear his throat just to talk. Could be allergies, he offered, but it's strange. It only really shows up after breakfast. That's the kind of clue I've learned to listen closely for, because in older men, subtle symptoms often tell bigger stories. I asked what he usually ate. Oats with warm milk, he said. Every day, same bowl, same time. It calms me, reminds me of when I was a kid. That final sentence hit me, because food isn't just fuel for us. It's comfort, memory, identity. So when I told him that the very thing soothing his emotions might be irritating his body, I did so gently. You see, for many men over 60, the combination of dairy and oats, especially warm milk poured over hot cereal, can become problematic. As we age, our ability to process dairy proteins like casein or sugars like lactose often diminishes. And while not every man is lactose intolerant in the textbook sense, many experience a slower, quieter version of intolerance, one that shows up as mucus buildup, sinus congestion, and a mild nagging cough. Milk thickens secretions. When paired with oats, a dense, water-absorbing grain, it can slow digestion and stir up inflammation in the sinuses and gut. It doesn't happen all at once, but day by day, that throat clearing in the morning becomes a ritual. That feeling of heaviness in the chest after eating becomes normal, and the connection to dairy often goes unnoticed, buried beneath habit. Mr. Conway looked surprised. I thought milk was supposed to help me sleep better, strengthen my bones. And he wasn't wrong. Milk, in moderation and in the right form, has benefits. But warm dairy in the morning, especially in men already experiencing respiratory sensitivity or digestive slowing, can stir a quiet storm that most don't trace back to the bowl. We made a small switch. Almond milk, unsweetened, warmed gently. Some mornings he used water with cinnamon and a touch of nutmeg. Within 2 weeks, the mucus cleared. His throat felt lighter. And for the first time in months, he said, I woke up without having to cough. Just silence. That to me is powerful, because sometimes healing doesn't come with a loud symptom or a dramatic intervention. Sometimes it comes in the stillness of a quiet breath. So if you've noticed a morning cough, sinus drip, or heaviness in your chest, pause. Think about what you're pairing with your oats. Your body speaks, not in words, but in mucus, in fatigue, in the soft resistance that shows up after breakfast. Have you seen this in yourself? If your mornings have been louder than usual, your story might help someone else connect the dots. I'd be honored if you shared below. And if this eased something for you, even just a little understanding, leave a like. It's a small gesture, but it helps this quiet truth reach more men who deserve to breathe easier. Story number 6, protein powder in oats? The aging liver says no. He was lean, muscular, and proud of it. Mr. Danvers, 66, had the gait of a man who still hit the gym, still tracked his macros, still believed he could out-discipline aging. He sat across from me in his compression joggers, sipping a shaker bottle of something chalky. Doctor, he began, I'm doing everything right. Oats with protein powder, no sugar, no bread, no excuses. But I'm tired all the time. Headaches, stiffness in my side, and digestion's gone weird. That last part, stiffness in my side, made me pause. We ran tests. His liver enzymes were elevated. His kidney function was beginning to show early strain. Not catastrophic, but enough for the quiet alarm bells to ring. I asked him to walk me through his breakfast. Oats with 2 scoops of protein, he said. Whey isolate, vanilla flavor, 30 grams. I need my muscle fuel. And there it was. You see, most men over 60 think of protein as insurance. Insurance against muscle loss, frailty, fatigue. And while protein is essential, the form and dose become more critical with age than ever before. What Mr. Danvers didn't realize, and what many active older men overlook, is that powdered, flavored protein mixes often contain artificial sweeteners, additives, and concentrated amino profiles that demand heavy processing by the liver and kidneys, especially whey-based powders, which are dairy-derived and acidic by nature. The youthful body might metabolize it with ease, but an aging body, one quietly managing decades of exposure to alcohol, medications, environmental toxins, and stress, struggles to clear these dense loads efficiently. The result? Fatigue that lingers, mild nausea after meals, slower digestion, and over time, impaired detox systems that affect everything from hormone regulation to mood. I showed him his labs. We talked not just about protein, but about pressure. The pressure men put on themselves to stay strong at any cost. Sometimes that cost is hidden in the scoop. We adjusted the dose, half a scoop, plant-based. We added a soft-boiled egg twice a week, a spoon of Greek yogurt when his gut felt balanced. No more blindly trusting the powder. A month later, his liver values started improving. The headaches stopped. He smiled more easily. I thought I needed to double down, he told me. Turns out I just needed to listen. That's the lesson here. After 60, your body doesn't respond to force. It responds to respect. And every supplement, every scoop, every label with the word fuel on it, it needs to pass through the filter of your age, your organs, your truth. So if you're loading up your oats with protein powder, ask yourself, do you feel stronger or more sluggish? Your liver may already be answering. Have you had this shift yourself, or felt that something healthy was quietly working against you? I'd be honored to hear your story in the comments. And if this gave you a moment of clarity, a small, helps another man realize he's not alone in questioning the powdered path. And please subscribe to the channel as a small way for us to stay in touch. Old age doesn't need many words, just not to be forgotten. Story number 7, oats and citrus. The acid-alkaline clash that disrupts absorption. Sometimes the problem isn't what we're eating, it's what we're eating it with. Mr. Garrison, 73, was a retired engineer, methodical, careful. He liked systems that worked, and he applied that same mindset to his body. For breakfast, he had what he called his optimized bowl: steel-cut oats, flaxseed, and a generous helping of fresh orange slices on top. Vitamin C, fiber, iron, he said proudly, fuel for the engine. But during a routine visit, his blood work showed something unexpected: borderline anemia, low zinc, sluggish immunity, frequent colds, slow wound healing. I don't get it, he said. I eat like a monk. And he did, at least in appearance. But when I asked about how he combined foods, he looked at me puzzled. That's when we spoke about a lesser-known truth. Acidic fruits like oranges, pineapples, or grapefruit, when paired with mineral-rich foods like oats, can quietly interfere with absorption. In older men, this matters more than ever. With age, the gut becomes less efficient at pulling nutrients from food. And when you unknowingly create chemical environments that compete, acid with alkaline, citrus with phytic acid, you limit your body's ability to absorb iron, zinc, and magnesium. The very minerals that support testosterone, muscle repair, and mental clarity. Oats contain phytic acid, a compound that can bind to minerals in the gut. It's not dangerous in itself. But when you add citrus on top, especially first thing in the morning, you create an acidic environment that further complicates absorption. The result? The nutrition you think you're getting just passes through. Mr. Garrison was stunned. You're telling me the oranges might be stealing my strength? Not stealing, just mistiming. We made a simple adjustment. He moved his citrus to later in the morning with a small protein snack. Let the oats do their job undisturbed. Within weeks, his energy improved. His labs began trending upward. The constant sniffles faded. It wasn't about restriction, it was about rhythm. That's something we rarely talk about as men. that timing matters just as much as effort. That being intentional doesn't mean doing more. It means doing it wiser. So if you've been adding citrus to your oats, thinking you're boosting your health, pause. Ask yourself, could this be blocking what I'm trying to build? You might not feel the depletion in a day, but over years, that subtle drag in your step, the fog in your head, the dullness in your skin, it adds up. If this opened your eyes to a small but powerful shift, let me know in the comments. And if you've already made this change, your insight could help another man rebalance his routine. A quiet light can carry this message farther, to someone who's been doing everything right and still wondering why they feel off. Story number 8, overnight oats, all-day bloat. When cold breakfasts cause trouble. He walked in slowly, one hand pressed gently on his lower stomach. Mr. Harris, 69, was a soft-spoken man with a love for gardening and jazz. Lately, he'd been feeling heavier, not in weight, but in presence. I feel full all the time, he said. Not hungry, but not satisfied. Just thick. He had no major medical complaints. His labs were stable. But his gut told another story. Bloating, sluggishness, and that quiet discomfort that follows you like a shadow through the day. He thought maybe it was aging, or stress, or, as he chuckled, maybe I've just become a grump. So I asked about breakfast. He smiled. Overnight oats, Doc. Pinterest recipe. Oats soaked in almond milk with chia, a few berries. I even prepped them in mason jars like my daughter showed me. He thought it was a smart swap. Healthy, convenient, trendy. But for many older men, overnight oats, served cold and dense, aren't the gentle start to the day they seem to be. You see, the digestive fire of youth cools with age. The stomach produces less acid, enzyme activity slows, and cold raw meals like overnight oats can be like tossing a wet log onto a smoldering flame. They dampen the gut's ability to ignite, to move, to transform food into usable energy. The result? Fermentation, gas, and that low-grade heaviness that lasts hours. It's not that oats are bad, it's the temperature, the texture, the timing. Mr. Harris had unknowingly been asking his stomach to do a hard job without warm-up every morning. No wonder it felt burdened. We made a small shift. He began lightly warming his oats before eating. Some mornings he switched to soft-cooked grains, like warm quinoa or millet porridge with a dash of cinnamon. He sipped warm water first instead of cold juice. Within days, his belly softened. I don't feel like I'm carrying a backpack after breakfast anymore, he told me. That was his way of describing it. But I knew what he meant. Because when your digestion is burdened, your entire day changes. Your thoughts are slower, your movements more cautious. Even your emotions, irritability, sadness, can ride the waves of a struggling gut. We forget how much of our clarity, our balance, our steadiness begins in the stomach. So if you're over 60 and waking up to cold oats, thinking it's the smarter choice, pause, listen. Is your body thanking you or bracing itself? You don't have to give up your routine, but perhaps you can give it warmth, softness, a little dignity. Your gut isn't what it used to be, but it's still listening. Have you felt this kind of bloat? The kind that has no name, just weight? Share your experience. You might help another man feel a little less alone in his quiet discomfort. And if this helped you feel seen, even just for a moment, a simple like tells me this message matters. It was never about the oats. I still think about Mr. Ellis. He's 75 now. Comes in once a year for a checkup, brings his wife, wears the same navy windbreaker he's had for decades. He still eats oats in the morning, but now with purpose. No more piles of sweet fruit, no dairy that weighs him down, no powders or confusion, just warm oats, a sprinkle of seeds, maybe some cinnamon. What changed wasn't just his breakfast, it was his awareness. You see, for most of us, especially men, we're taught to power through. We eat for habit, for convenience, for control. We rarely ask how our body feels afterward. We rarely pause to wonder if the choices we made at 40 still make sense at 70. But the truth is, your body changes. And that's not weakness. That's wisdom asking to be heard. It was never really about the oats. It was about how quietly small things compound, how a banana too often can push your sugar past its edge, how yogurt, once helpful, now disrupts more than it supports, how even something as gentle as almond slices can weigh you down if not prepared with care. And more than anything, it's about learning to listen to yourself, not the labels, not the influencers, not even me. You. How do you feel in your body after breakfast? Do you walk through your morning with energy and clarity? Or do you feel fogged in before noon? Because your body is speaking. Through your digestion, through your sleep, through the creaks in your knees and the sighs you didn't mean to let out. Aging isn't a failure. It's an invitation to eat, move, and live with more honesty than ever before. If you're over 60 and watching this, I want you to know something. You are not too late. You are not too broken. And you don't need to change everything overnight. Just start where you are. Start by noticing how you combine your food. Start by giving yourself permission to shift. Mr. Ellis still eats oats because they remind him of simpler days, but now they nourish him too. That's the balance. That's the goal. If this video opened something in you, if a single pairing or story made you reflect, then I hope you'll take one more quiet step. Give this video a like so others can find their way to it. Subscribe, not because I need numbers, but because I hope to walk this journey with you and share it with someone you care about. A brother, a friend, a son, someone who might still be eating in the dark. Sometimes all it takes is one breakfast to begin a better chapter. And I'll be right here when you're ready to turn the page.